Welcome back to our channel. Today I'm about to share a story full of secrets, forbidden love and betrayal that ends in tragedy. Before we dive into this gripping tale, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because every moment of this story will keep you on the edge of your seat. Now let's begin. This small town was known for its peace and silence. Bright mornings, fresh air and quiet streets painted a picture of a slow-moving life. Yet beneath this calm, an invisible emptiness lingered. Richard and Evelyn lived here, wrapped in their daily routines, their lives appearing normal but their hearts hollow. Life in this town seemed simple: classic houses, well-kept gardens, and neighbors exchanging greetings. But behind this, beauty lay a loneliness hard to express. Evelyn often wandered alone in the nearby park, breathing in the fresh air, yet feeling farther from reality with every step. The quiet streets gave Evelyn space to think. Watching happy couples, her heart grew heavier. At 50, she felt her life had lost direction. Her husband, Richard, always patient, never realized the depth of her yearning. She felt trapped in a life that looked perfect, but inside was full of disappointment. Though Richard always tried to show his care, they were caught in an endless, monotonous cycle. Their lives had reached a dull point. They never spoke deeply, only sharing empty glances. Evelyn knew Richard loved her, but that love was fading. Every day passed without meaningful conversation, just hollow silence. In this seemingly peaceful town, loneliness seeped deeper into Evelyn's heart. The quiet in their home weighed heavily. She often reflected on the past, what was lost and what they should have had. She longed for closeness, for conversations that warmed the heart, for a change that never came. Perhaps this town was too small to hold her growing pain. Every night after Richard fell asleep, Evelyn stared out the bedroom window at the night sky. In that silence, she felt increasingly isolated. Her empty heart craved attention that never came. She longed for the love that once was, now only a distant memory, unreachable. Evelyn tried to hide her feelings with a smile, pretending all was well. But inside, she felt broken. Their relationship was no longer fiery passion, but an unchanging routine. Though Richard gave his best, it wasn't enough to fill her void. She wondered if her life would always be this way. Seeing young, happy couples deepened her loneliness. Her heart yearned for lost intimacy, shared moments full of joy, and a love that didn't fade. But in her marriage, there was only tension and distance. Richard couldn't feel what she felt. Their life was like two strangers trapped in a once loving home. She thought perhaps this was fate. Maybe this was what she must accept. But deep down, an unquenchable desire burned, to be loved, noticed, and desired again. She knew Richard was good, but love alone wasn't enough to fill her emptiness. Evelyn felt stuck between love and profound loss. Each night she pondered a way out of her loneliness. She knew Richard was part of her life, but was that enough? Could love ever return? Yet the longer she waited, the more she felt disconnected from the world she knew. Her heart sought something more, something real. Richard was kind and endlessly patient. From the day he married Evelyn, he vowed to make her happy. Every day he showed his love, though sometimes not in the way she wanted. He worked hard to provide for them, believing happiness came from giving everything to family. Yet Richard never realized how empty Evelyn's heart had become. Every time they sat together, he thought all was well. He trusted their bond was strong and did his best to keep their marriage afloat, but his busyness kept him from seeing Evelyn's growing distance. Richard felt proud to have Evelyn as his wife. He believed nothing was more important than family. Yet he noticed a growing gap between them. Evelyn no longer seemed the same, once vibrant, now dim. Richard felt he'd lost something, but couldn't pinpoint what. Confused, he didn't know how to fix it. Every attempt Richard made to get closer was met with withdrawal. He didn't know if it was his fault or hers. Hurt, but persistent, he tried to mend the relationship, though unsure where to begin. His sincere love made him fight for their marriage, even as his heart broke quietly. Despite his efforts falling short, Richard clung to hope that all would be well. He knew their marriage was being tested, but he wanted to believe in healing. Yet as Evelyn retreated, he sensed she was slipping away further than he realized. Alone and unaware, He fought a silent battle for their love. On quiet nights, their old home became a hollow space filled with forgotten memories. Evelyn and Richard sat side by side but felt like strangers. Dim lights and the wind outside deepened the silence that separated them. The warmth that once bound them now was a chasm. Evelyn glanced at Richard, hoping to catch a flicker of the love that once held them close. Instead, she saw a tired, distant man. His eyes, once lively, were dull, reflecting a relationship that had long lost its spark. Her heart ached with wounds no words could heal. Richard felt it too. He wanted to speak, to close the growing gap, but words caught in his throat. They were trapped in a heavy silence, allowing pain and regret to flow unchecked. Their home, once filled with laughter, bore witness to the slow decay of their love. Lost in the silence, Evelyn's mind drifted to the past, to happy times now far away. She wondered where they went wrong. Was it her? Or had Richard's love faded? These questions remained unanswered, leaving an empty void that swallowed her whole. Evelyn felt a deeper emptiness than just loneliness. It was a silence that suffocated hope and dreams. She knew the love that once bound them was now a fading shadow. On that lonely night, she realized something had to change, or she would be lost to emptiness forever. One ordinary afternoon, while Richard was busy at work, a young pizza delivery man knocked on their door. Jake, fresh-faced and wearing a charming smile, held a simple order. But little did he know, his arrival would change Evelyn's life forever. The moment their eyes met, a long-closed window to Evelyn's heart creaked open. Jake brought youthful energy and genuine attention that Evelyn hadn't felt in years. Their brief exchanges at the door blossomed into warm conversations. Evelyn felt seen and understood, something she had desperately craved. For a fleeting moment, life regained its color. Soon, Jake was more than a delivery boy. He became Evelyn's escape from crushing loneliness. His presence injected vibrancy into her dull routine, opening the door to feelings long buried deep within. Yet beneath the smiles and laughter, a tension stirred, a secret spark waiting to ignite. Behind Jake's warmth, Evelyn sensed unspoken tension. Torn between what was right and what her heart desired, she struggled to keep control. Every glance from Jake sparked a fire she could no longer suppress, igniting a forbidden love growing stronger by the day. What started as a simple meeting became a turning point in Evelyn's life. She knew the path ahead was fraught with risk and pain, but a hope for new happiness blossomed in her heart. Slowly, the forbidden love took root, drawing her deeper into a world from which there was no easy escape. Jake's visits became more frequent, each one adding a spark to Evelyn's faded life. She felt alive again, basking in the warmth of attention she had longed for. Jake wasn't just a delivery boy anymore. He was her secret refuge from the dullness that consumed her days. Beneath their laughter and casual talks lay an undeniable tension. Evelyn realized her heart was slowly attaching to Jake, despite the guilt gnawing at her conscience. Every moment with him was a brief oasis in a desert of loneliness, yet the fear of losing control lurked in the shadows. Jake too felt the pull. Evelyn's attention was a balm to his restless soul, a chance at something better than the life he had known. Their connection grew deeper with every meeting, binding them in a complicated dance of passion and risk. Yet Evelyn's inner voice whispered warnings. The world she knew was fragile, and crossing this line could mean devastation. But exhaustion and hunger for love silenced her doubts, letting desire steer her steps into the unknown. Their hidden affair blossomed behind the closed doors of Evelyn's old house. Every whispered word and stolen glance fueled a forbidden flame, a secret that would soon burn their lives apart. Amidst stolen joys, Evelyn's conscience screamed louder each day. The love she gave to Jake tore at the fabric of her loyalty. Nights were haunted by the ghosts of betrayal, her heart split between yearning and remorse. Seeing Richard made the guilt unbearable. He was kind and unaware, deserving of her honesty. But Evelyn's heart was fractured, trapped between two worlds. Sleepless nights and racing thoughts dragged her into a storm of self-reproach. She searched for excuses, fleeting and fragile. Yet each laugh shared with Jake was shadowed by silent tears. Doubt seeped into her soul. Had she ever truly loved Richard, Or was it all a comforting illusion? Fear gripped her, fear of exposure, of losing all she had, of living with the shame. But the longing for Jake was a siren song too strong to resist. Evelyn lived in a cruel tug-of-war, torn between truth and desire. Alone in her room, staring at their wedding photo, Evelyn felt hollow. Regret washed over her like a cold tide. The path she walked was treacherous, and turning back seemed impossible. She was caught in a web of forbidden love and inevitable heartbreak. Richard sensed a change in Evelyn, coldness where warmth once lived. Their conversations grew sparse, replaced by uncomfortable silences. Richard's heart ached, but Evelyn guarded her secret with practiced ease. Evenings became battles of avoidance. Questions met deflections, attempts at closeness rebuffed. The home they shared felt like a cage tightening with each passing day. Evelyn put on a mask of normalcy, fearing discovery. But the weight of lies grew heavier, and Richard's suspicion deepened. His worries blossomed into desperation as he watched the woman he loved drift away. Richard's efforts to reconnect were met with cold shoulders. He could feel the chasm widening, each rejection a stab to his soul. Love turned into a quiet struggle for survival. Neighbors whispered, sensing the unrest. The couple, once admired for their devotion, was now an enigma wrapped in tension and despair. Their once warm home was now a stage for a silent, devastating tragedy. To Evelyn, Jake was more than a lover. He was her escape from a suffocating existence. In his presence, she rediscovered joy and freedom, emotions long buried beneath years of loneliness. Jake understood his role perfectly. He wasn't just filling a void, he was the spark rekindling Evelyn's hope. They fed each other's emptiness, their connection a fragile lifeline in a stormy sea. With Jake, Evelyn shed her masks. She laughed freely and dreamed aloud, but lurking beneath the joy was a deep fear, fear of losing him, fear of the consequences if their secret was revealed. Jake promised unwavering support and a future beyond their pain, yet his ambition cast a shadow over his affection, pushing Evelyn towards choices she feared but felt compelled to make. Evelyn's heart knew this love was unsustainable. But the warmth it offered was a drug too powerful to resist. She surrendered to a passion that threatened to consume her whole. The love between Evelyn and Jake reshaped her vision of the future. Freedom and happiness seemed within reach, but only if Richard was no longer in the picture. The allure of Richard's fortune became entwined with her desire. Conflicted, Evelyn wrestled with guilt and longing. The promise of a new life clashed with the reality of betrayal. Her mind was a battleground where hope and fear collided. She pictured a life with Jake, love unrestrained, wealth unshared. But the risk was immense and failure could mean ruin. Still, the alternative, to live in loneliness, felt unbearable. Jake's relentless persuasion fueled Evelyn's resolve. His assurances painted a future where they could finally be free. The line between right and wrong blurred as ambition took hold. Nights became restless as Evelyn's turmoil intensified. Her heart ached with every choice, knowing that one decision would irrevocably change her life and the lives of those she loved. Evelyn sat alone in the dim corner of her room, staring blankly at the ceiling. The loneliness that haunted her for years had now twisted into a dark resolve. Loving Jake was no longer just an escape. It was a burning desire to change her empty life. Richard's wealth was the key to the freedom she craved. Her thoughts churned endlessly, weighing every consequence. Yet ambition gripped her heart tightly. The vision of a life filled with passion and liberty danced before her eyes. She vowed to take any risk to seize it. Each night, waves of conflicting emotions crashed inside her. Love, fear, hope, and despair. Her heart no longer felt empty. It blazed with a dangerous fire. She believed she had finally found a reason to live again, though the path was steep and shadowed. But a quiet voice inside warned her, reminding her that reckless love and greed could lead to ruin. Yet the voice was drowned out by Jake's sweet promises and her own longing. She steeled herself for the uncertain future ahead. She knew her decision could destroy everything, but life as it was unbearable. Eyes shut tight, Evelyn allowed herself to be swept into the plan forming in her mind. Jake's words were no longer gentle suggestions, but urgent demands. His soft whispers painted a bright tomorrow, a world where they'd be free, unbound by the past. He pushed Evelyn to act, his voice both comforting and commanding. Every meeting became a session of strategy and persuasion. Jake showed his manipulative side, exploiting Evelyn's vulnerability with promises and fears. He planted seeds of doubt, making her believe no other path existed. Testing Evelyn's limits, Jake watched how far he could push her. His ambition and dreams drove him to risk everything, blurring the line between love and self-interest. Yet Jake also showed tenderness that bound Evelyn closer. He became her protector, her light in the darkness, fueling her hope that together they could escape misery. Slowly, they pieced together the perfect plan, a staged accident that would end Richard's life. Jake's knowledge of quiet roads and timing turned the plan from fantasy to deadly reality. Behind her forced smiles, Evelyn hid a storm of fear and hope. The plan was horrifying, yet seemed the only way out. Her soul was caught between guilt and desperate yearning. Nightmares plagued her sleep, filled with consequences and loss. Dawn brought renewed hope, but the battle inside raged on, waves of love and dread crashing endlessly. She concealed her anxiety from Richard, but the vision of a free life with Jake haunted her. She wondered if the cost would ever be worth it. Fear clawed at her, fear of losing Jake, of the plan failing, of justice catching up. But for now she chose to walk this dangerous path. Love, fear, and ambition tore at Evelyn's heart, shaping a hurricane of emotion. She knew this choice was irreversible, sealing her fate and that of those around her. Evelyn and Jake meticulously crafted every detail. From timing to location, each step was calculated. They chose a remote, winding road with no witnesses, perfect for their deadly act. Jake took charge, using his knowledge of the route to minimize risk. Evelyn, trembling, took part in the planning, the tension thick between them. Point 3. They discussed making Richard's death appear as a tragic accident, a blown tire, faulty brakes. The precision of their scheme both terrified and reassured Evelyn. Still, fear crept in. Evelyn often awoke at night imagining the worst, but she pushed doubt aside, trusting Jake's promise that everything would be fine. With preparations complete, they awaited the right moment. Evelyn's heart pounded, a mix of adrenaline and dread. She realized her life was about to change forever. The night before the act, Evelyn sat alone gazing at her wedding photo. Joy and sorrow intertwined as memories flooded her mind. She knew what she was about to do would shatter lives, including her own. Guilt washed over her, tears falling silently. How had she come so far? Yet Jake's urging and the promise of freedom drowned out her fear. She prepared carefully, ensuring no suspicion would fall on her. Each step weighed heavy on her conscience. Was there another way to escape this misery without bloodshed? Jake's unwavering encouragement gave her strength. The vision of a new life brightened the darkness. With resolve and trembling hope, she surrendered to the fate she chose. As dawn broke, Evelyn stood at the edge of a life-changing decision. Her heart raced, mind clouded with questions of what the future held. But her step was firm. There was no turning back. The cold night air pierced Richard's bones as he drove home alone on the winding, empty road. No one could have guessed this ordinary night would mark the end of his life. Hidden in the darkness, a sinister plan awaited silently. Suddenly, a tire blew out as he navigated a sharp bend near the forest. The car spun out of control, crashing violently into a towering tree. Richard lay motionless, gravely injured, trapped in eerie silence. When the emergency responders arrived, all they found was Richard's lifeless body. Official reports labeled it a tragic accident, but beneath the surface of twisted metal and shattered glass hid a darker truth, a betrayal carefully disguised. Evelyn received the news with tears streaming down her face, yet beneath her sorrow simmered a complex mix of relief and dread. She understood the old world was ending, but feared the new nightmare that awaited. Far from the scene, Jake felt a storm of exhilaration and anxiety. He knew the coming days would decide their fate. Fear of capture and exposure kept him alert, every moment charged with tension. Detective Michael studied the crash site with piercing eyes. Something didn't fit the accident's story. Small overlooked clues caught his attention, misplaced debris, suspicious skid marks. whispers of deceit. His seasoned instincts pushed him to dig deeper. Interviews with neighbors and acquaintances slowly unraveled a web of secrets, betrayal, and forbidden love lurking beneath the town's calm. Tiny pieces of evidence, hidden messages, strange transactions, Evelyn's shifting behavior, pointed to a planned murder. Michael realized this was no accident but a cold, calculated crime. Each clue pulled him closer to a harsh truth. Pressure mounted from above and from the community demanding justice. Yet Michael remained methodical. One wrong move could let the killers slip away. Focusing on Evelyn and Jake's relationship, Michael began to gather undeniable proof. To convict, he needed irrefutable evidence that would expose their dark secret and deliver justice. Michael combed through Evelyn's home with relentless precision. Amongst personal letters and mundane documents, he uncovered cryptic notes and hidden messages revealing deception. The house held silent testimony. Jake's vehicle was examined next. Forensic traces and overlooked details hinted at his direct role in the accident's staging. Michael catalogued every finding meticulously for court. Interrogating Evelyn, Michael's questions cut deep. Initially calm, her defenses slowly crumbled under his scrutiny. Reluctantly, fragments of her hidden truth surfaced. Jake's interrogation was no less intense. He attempted to evade, twisting words, but Michael's sharp instincts pierced through every lie. Fear grew in Jake's eyes. The walls were closing in. Piece by piece, the puzzle came together. Evelyn and Jake's complicity in Richard's murder was undeniable. The bitter truth shattered illusions and revealed the depth of their betrayal. Behind cold prison bars, Evelyn sat lost in thought, her heart torn between regret and defiance. She grasped the magnitude of her crime, but knew too late to undo it. Guilt consumed her every waking moment. Memories of Richard and Jake tangled painfully in her mind, sweet yet bitter. Each remembrance cut like a double-edged sword, leaving scars on her conscience. Evelyn felt a profound emptiness, realizing the happiness she sought had led to her downfall. Love fractured and trust broken, she faced a bleak reality and the heavy price of her choices. Jake's betrayal stung deeply. Once her ally, now her adversary in a desperate bid for freedom. Alone, Evelyn questioned if their love was ever real or just a cruel illusion. Amidst the darkness, a fragile hope flickered, hope for forgiveness and peace. Though the path ahead was long and painful, Evelyn vowed to seek redemption no matter the cost. Cornered and desperate, Jake chose betrayal to save himself. His confession to the police unraveled Evelyn's last defenses, deepening her isolation and despair. Law enforcement swiftly moved. Both faced the harsh reality of their crimes as their world crumbled around them. Dreams of freedom turned to ashes overnight. Interrogations became a battlefield of blame and remorse. Tensions soared as truth spilled, exposing the raw wounds of love and treachery. Justice took its course, leaving a trail of heartbreak in its wake. The small town mourned the loss and betrayal that shattered its peace. Evelyn and Jake accepted their fate. The story of their dark choices and shattered dreams echoed as a cautionary tale of love's perilous edge. Behind cold steel bars, Evelyn sat alone, her face marked by lines of deep regret. The brightness she once had was now shadowed by sorrow. Every moment in prison was a heavy reminder of the choices that destroyed her life and those she loved. Her heart ached with unbearable pain. Memories of lost love and broken promises haunted her constantly. Guilt wrapped around her like chains, suffocating hope and light from her world. The silence of her cell forced Evelyn to face her sins. Night after night, she prayed for forgiveness and a chance at peace. Though the weight of her past was crushing, she sought a flicker of redemption in the darkness. She longed for Richard, steadfast and kind, now gone forever. Her remorse was endless, knowing no words could undo the betrayal. Yet in the depths of her shattered soul, she vowed never to repeat the mistakes that led her here. Though trapped in a web of punishment, Evelyn slowly grasped the true meaning of love and sacrifice. The love she once took for granted became her greatest lesson. She yearned for a chance to heal, even if only in her heart. The quiet town was never the same. Whispers of tragedy and betrayal replaced the peaceful hum of daily life. The community reeled from the dark secret that shattered their calm existence. Neighbors struggled to understand how a loving couple could fall into such despair and violence. The town's innocence was broken, replaced by a wariness that lingered in every glance. Children who once played freely now heard tales of heartbreak and caution. Even the ancient trees and weathered houses seemed to mourn the tragedy that forever changed the town's spirit. Some tried to move on, burying the pain beneath routines. But for many, the story of Evelyn and Richard was a scar, a reminder that darkness can hide behind the brightest smiles. Life went on, but the wounds remained. The town learned to protect its heart more carefully, cherishing every relationship with newfound reverence. The tale of love, betrayal, and justice became a permanent echo in their history. The courtroom was filled with tension and tears. Evelyn and Jake faced the verdict with heavy hearts as witnesses told of secrets unveiled and lives destroyed. The judge pronounced a fair sentence, reflecting society's demand for justice and moral reckoning. No one escaped the consequences of their choices. For the families, the sentence offered a bitter comfort, a measure of closure to their grief. The town watched, hoping for healing amid the sorrow. Evelyn and Jake bore the weight of their crimes, confined not only by law but by the chains of guilt that would never break. Justice was done, yet the scars it left were deep. The cost of betrayal was paid in full, a warning to all of love's fragile and dangerous power. Evelyn's life behind bars was filled with isolation and reflection. The freedom she craved was replaced by endless regret. The dreams she once held now lay shattered. Richard's memory lingered as a symbol of loyalty and lost love. The town honored his name with sorrow, reminding all that true love demands honesty and faithfulness. Evelyn sought redemption, knowing her path forward was one of penance and humility. Her past mistakes were permanent shadows she would carry forever. Jake faced a grim future. His selfish ambitions had destroyed the very life he sought. Alone in his cell, he wrestled with the emptiness he had created. The town, though wounded, gradually healed. Its people learned to trust again, carrying the lessons of Evelyn and Richard's tragic tale in their hearts. From darkness emerged wisdom. Love without truth is doomed to destruction. The town's story became a testament to this painful truth. Conversations blossomed about trust, communication, and the fragility of human bonds. Hearts opened wider, eager to avoid past mistakes. Evelyn and Jake's story was shared across generations, a cautionary tale about the dangers of forbidden love and blind ambition. Amid the sorrow, hope grew that from pain could come growth and change. The town learned resilience and the value of forgiveness. Ultimately, this was not just a story of tragedy, but of the human spirit striving for redemption. A timeless reminder to guard love with honesty, compassion, and courage.